Hey guys, Tisha here, and we're back for another Love and Marriage Huntsville review. I don't know what's going on with this show, but I'm over it. And I hope my review doesn't show that I'm over it, but I'm to the point where it's like, okay, when you're opening up with people who aren't even main cast members, what is that saying about the state of the show? Carlos, you're spending all this time interviewing all these people, and the show is just trash. Nell and Chris go dancing for their date night. They speak about how business is going. And one of the things that Chris points out is that everything is going okay, but he's still trying to sell the property that Martell is renting. But Martell won't get out. I don't understand why these men don't hold Martell accountable, why you would allow for a man, friend or not, to come into this home. You've asked him several times to get out, and he's basically become a squatter. So my question now is, what does Martell have on Chris that Chris feels the need to allow him to get away with this? Nell then talks to Chris about how when Martell came over the house to drop off the 2 bottles of wine, that they spoke about how Nell is planning on attending Mel's ceremony for her name change and how they got into it. She said that she didn't like the things that he had to say or the tone that he used with her, and Chris agrees that he'll talk to him. She also points out that she told Martell that they're still not going to pick sides. They said several times that they're not picking sides, that they're friends with the both of them, and they intend on supporting the both of them. She then says that one of the problems that she has with Martell is that Martell, even though they're all very aware of the mistakes that he's made, he doesn't own it. So he'll say, yes, I cheated on her and had a baby, but she cheated first. She said if he's truly sorry for the things that he's done, then he needs to own it without trying to bring up the things that she's done. And I agree. But honestly, at this point, it really doesn't matter because we don't care. We then see Stormy and Tiffany meet up at a store to annoy me even more. While shopping, they talk about the barbecue yet again, because we know that if we heard about the Black Expo a whole bunch of times, we kept hearing about that Black Expo, we're going to hear about this barbecue. So Tiffany said that she never knew for Kiki to be able to be relevant and irrelevant at the same time. Stormy says, look, y'all need to stop with the shade throwing. She brings up the interview with Carlos and how shady it was and how she didn't even know that Tiffany could be that shady. Tiffany says that she didn't feel like it was that bad. And she says in her confessional that she wasn't saying anything that anyone else isn't thinking or anyone else doesn't want to say. Tiffany says that she sees no purpose for Kiki because she stays in mess and she does not like how she acts in public, and those aren't the type of people that she normally associates with. And while Stormy is having this conversation, I'm just thinking they don't have to be friends. Like, there's nothing that says that these two have to interact with one another. Stormy feels like when she had that discussion with Carlos, that she kind of alluded to the fact that Kiki wasn't good enough to be around the group and that she did not know that Tiffany could be like this. Once again, has Stormy watched the show or not? Because Tiffany has always been shady. Tiffany even admitted in her confessionals that she's like that. So Tiffany is a mouthpiece. As she's saying that she feels like Kiki is remorseful, that when she spoke to Kiki that she seemed like she was apologetic for what she did at Kimmy's house, Tiffany interrupts her and says, oh, so you talked to Kiki? And Stormy's like, yes. So Tiffany's feeling like Stormy's taking sides, or she's already took sides just because she spoke to Kiki, whereas Stormy is trying to say that she hasn't taken sides. She just wants to bring them together. So she said, okay, so is this concern Stormy or is this stirring the pot Stormy? And Stormy's like, don't do that. We then see them sit down and she says, have you ever said anything about Kiki's child being out of the school district yet playing for the school. She denies it. She asks her if she said anything negative about her hair products, and she says no, that she actually used most of them. The scene to me was too drawn out. Unless Mel is there to confirm it, it's no point even having the conversation, because this is what these people do. They deny the things that they said. Stormy wants them to come together so it doesn't turn into a fight. Tiffany feels like it's not really that big of a deal, that all she does is just jab because Kiki jabs. So they're both jabbing each other. And Stormy's like, okay, well, at some point, if you keep jabbing the bear is going to attack you. So Tiffany's like, okay, well, if you're worried about it turning into that, because Tiffany has no desire to fight whatsoever, she wants to have a talk with Kiki as long as Stormy is willing to facilitate it. And Stormy agrees that she will. That's the end of that. We next see Stormy later on in the episode, where she is at her home talking to Kyle, who is her chief of operations. We find out that he came on a year ago because of some difficulties that they were having, and he really helped them. As a result, they've been able to make it to what will soon be 5 years, and Stormy wants to throw a big party. As they're talking, he says, when I came into the company, you were at the point where you almost lost it all. And I'm not talking about the company or the warehouse. I'm talking about your home. Now, this is a scene that I truly believed was real, despite the fact that 1 minute her glasses were on, then they were off. Then it was a whole bunch of stuff going on with the glasses. But I feel like they rushed through the important parts, because she's sitting here saying that the company grew too fast, that after she got pregnant and she was put on bed rest, she wasn't able to manage it how she would have had she had not been like that. And that it forced things to change, that her signature was being forged and things were being stolen from the company, and it was messing up the family. I want to know more about this story. I want to know who the snake is that they're talking about, who was forging the signatures, how long was this person able to do this? Like, I want to know the meat. Don't give me the sides and not give me the meat, because they're leaving out the most important part. Either way, Kyle says from here on out, there's no more snakes in the garden, that we're going to run this in a legal, in an ethical way, that we're going to dot all our I's and cross all our T's, that he's seen the strength in her. He's seen how much she's changed over the past year. And he wants the company to get to the point where they're selling 10 million in sales monthly, and that he knows this can happen, but it's not something that's going to happen right away. And it is going to be something that he wants to do the right way. We then get to Melody. I left this part out, but while Chris and Nell were talking, Nell brought up how Melody is having this this name-changing ceremony, and how the invitations look like wedding invitations. And she wouldn't be surprised, because of the grand scale that Mel does stuff, that it would be something like a mini wedding. Well, I guess that she was right, because it did look like a mini wedding. We see the different family members arriving, the ladies being escorted to their seats, some of which, like Nell, was walking down the sidewalk, and Nell's heels were so wobbly, boy, oh boy. She looked like that meme that you see of the models walking down the catwalk with their ankles going like this. That was Nell. And her dress was showing a lot of leg, and it might have been a size too small, because there was a lot going on there, but she made it, and she got in her seat. To me, this was a bit much, this whole ceremony thing, but we're going to talk about it anyway. We hear about how this is a new chapter of Mel's life, and how she invited those closest to her, which is some family and some of her closest friends. We see her walking out to a song that she wrote. People are crying while she's walking, but I thought this song was kind of trash. I gotta be honest, I, for the most part, am a Mel fan, but I'm gonna call it like I see it, and I see it like that song was trash. It sounds like something a little kid would do, sing it in the shower. Like, it's real mousy. It just, I'm not impressed. Even the little clips that I heard her put out, today, because today is her birthday on Instagram. I was like, oh no, Mel, this song ain't doing it for me. So we see the pastor pray over her, and he reads vows that she wrote, that she repeats. Her mother then comes up and speaks about the Rodger's name and how she was doing great even before that name. She'll do great now that she's getting it back. She's proud of her. They embrace. It looked touching, but to me, it didn't do anything. I was more moved the first time she read that letter in the mail saying that from here on out, her name is back to Rodgers than I was in this name ceremony. So the ceremony is over. They're about to have fun, eat, and mingle. As Mel is mingling with her family and guests, Nell pulls her to the side. Now, I don't understand why they needed to have this discussion before this or during this event. I think she should have had it before. I don't know why it had to be right now. I think it's kind of tacky on Nell's side, but Nell is doing what Nell is supposed to do, and she's bringing a little bit of story to this show. Nell brings up how she saw Martell, and she talks about how he was feeling a way about the name change, and he was mad at Nell that she was going to come to the event. Now, if you are supposed to be neutral, I don't feel like she needed to give Mel all of the ins and outs of what happened during that conversation, because being a neutral party when you're carrying bones can get kind of tricky. I feel like this is where she gets a little messy, because she could have informed her without the whole play-by-play, but she gave her the play-by-play. Nell said that he said, this is the name that I gave her and that our 4 children have together. And as she says that, Mel stops her and says, I was given a name before I met him, was I not? One thing about Mel, you know she's going to give her a little monologue or her soliloquy. So she said that he... And that statement is some of the most controlling, narcissistic stuff. And that is why she's celebrating today. Nell continues, and she brings up him talking about infidelity while they were married. Mel said he's lying, that he has the spirit of division. He likes the spirit of pinning women against one another, and she's glad that it's no longer there. She's not worried about the past. She's focused on her future. Now let's eat. I'm glad that it didn't continue to go on, because the moment alone was enough, and Nell could have stood there talking for a long time. We see Dr. Shanita Foster. I've seen her and Mel talk before on her Instagram, and she speaks about how most of the time people celebrate the fact that she's done with the man, but she wants to celebrate the fact that she was ever even married to him at all, because she was able to have 4 beautiful children from that. And she talks about her integrity and how this whole process has developed her. Now we get to Nell. And as we're seeing Nell, I want to know why we're just meeting the Fletcher family, because this is a mess. This one scene alone was more entertaining to me than the whole show. So we find out that the Fletchers have 4 children. They don't like to say that they're a blended family, but they are a blended family, because each one of them had a child that was around the same age, 1, when they got together. So she had a young lady. No, she had a boy, and he had a girl. So we meet Lance and Alexis first, and then they had Chris Jr. and Kayla. I really hate, and if this applies to any of you, I'm sorry, but I'm just speaking my truth. I hate when the first child isn't named after the father, because his second child is a Chris Jr. Now, I get it. You know what? Take that statement away. It doesn't apply. I'm thinking about Brian McKnight. I just remembered the boy is hers, the girl is his. So that wouldn't even apply. Okay, I'm wrong. I take it back. But what Brian McKnight did was wrong. And I don't like, if you already have a child, that you name your child Junior when you already had a boy. Take that up with the first boy. And if it doesn't happen, let it go. We see also Nell's niece, who's Kiki, who she lets us know that she also raised. She used to work for Nell, but she got fired by Nell. We hear that she lost her job because she didn't have proper child care, which is ironic, because doesn't Nell run a child care facility? she's complaining, Nell is, about not finding out about her having a job because her niece told her Uncle Chris first. I don't understand what it matters who she told first, especially if you fired her. But we hear that basically she's always the last to find out things. The niece and the children always go to their father first. I don't understand why that would be a problem. Me personally, if they feel comfortable enough to go to their dad, then so be it. As long as their dad and I have open communication, it wouldn't have been a problem. But this is a problem for Nell, and it's a big deal. And I'm seeing just how dramatic Nell is. I'm starting to believe that the reason why she's always last to find out is because of her attitude. She says, Kiki, that you're the last to find out because of how you react to stuff. And as she's saying this, she flings down her utensil and proves the girl right and tells her, we're going to sit down, we're going to eat, and we're going to talk about this. Her niece says that her aunt is dramatic. And she is. Her son, she's talking about, okay, so that's your problem. So now what's your problem? Talking to her son. She's like, you used to call every other day or every day, and now you haven't been calling. We find out that he's not calling anymore because he's upset about what happened with his dogs. So the son got locked up. When the son got locked up, they ended up taking his dogs because he wasn't there, of course. When they took their dogs, something was wrong. I don't know if it was with one or both of the dogs, but they had to take the dog to the vet and get the dog medicine. So they had a $3,800 bill. Let me tell you something. I didn't realize how expensive pets were until dealing with my boyfriend. And he has insurance. And I used to think it was the craziest thing that he had insurance for my fur baby. But I understand it now because dogs are expensive. And between the allergy pills that he needs and all that other stuff, you need insurance. So I would feel away too if I have to pay that money. So now says, look, I'm not giving you those 2 dogs back until you give me back that money. Because not only did they pay $3,800 for his medicine, but they paid $6,000 to bail their son out of jail. Now, I want to know what the son did. See, y'all, if we're going to talk about stuff, let's talk about stuff. This is where they're dropping the ball. You giving partial reality. We want to be in your business. If you're going to be on TV, understand that we need to be in your business. That was all. As they've done for every single episode, they're ending this on a continuation. You guys, let me know your thoughts down below. Please like, please subscribe if you have not already. I'm trying to get to 400. I think I'm 3 away. I'm almost there. Until next time. Yeah. Wouldn't be right. Wouldn't be right if it acted right. I just threw down a clicker the way Nell threw down her fork.